Is it working? Chat. One, two, one, two, one, two, three. Check. One, two, three, two, one. Yeah, there we go. My microphone's working just fine. Now, hello, Casey. First chatter of the evening. Welcome. Blue. E. It's been a while. Really? Wow, 6 months already. Blue, I could have sworn you resubscribed last month and it was 5. No, last week and it was 5 months. I don't seem to be noticing the passage of the time. But yes, hello. Hello, Haru. I hate how easy it is for me to startle. Startle? Pray tell, from what? Awful kind. No wild beast. No wild beast. Wow, immediately so many people hopping in. Greetings, everyone. Starting, well, a bit later. Fashionably later than usual. But here we are, alas. At least we've begun, right? Hello, Howler. Yesterday. Ever seen a bunch of flies stuck in a fly trap? Hello, Flappy. Speaking of flies. Nord. Hanging out with you in VC yesterday was fun. I get to see my class again today, finally. I'm not sick anymore. Congratulations on recovering. Blue Girl, so watching the FNAF movie one, because I've already watched the second. And I want context, but I keep jumping to the smallest thing. It's not really difficult to piece things together between the first movie and second, right, Vesp?
There's some context to the first, but not a whole lot to the second. And the story of both movies is different from the game.
That's true. There was a little Easter egg, I believe, in the second movie with regards to the first game, the security breach. And it even said security breach, right? Where, yes, I think.
Security breach isn't even the first game.
It wasn't the first game. It's the first game I played. Sorry.
Oh, the first game you
back.
played.
Yeah, the first game I played. But yes, hello. We are joined by none other than Vesper. We've decided to cozy it up because Christmas is just around the corner. Can you believe that it is 9 days away? A little more than a week. And a few snoozes until we go ho ho ho. Merry Christmas. Zenai, hello. Good evening. Yeah, those pesky flies. Good, we have those fly traps, right? Popcorn Palace really has a really advanced way of thinking about customer delight and comfortability, preparing pre-made fly traps in the shape of a comfortable bed with a huge theater screen right before. At least the flies won't get bored watching, right? Hello, Rook. Glorious vacation. Vacation, huh? Let's see. Will I be taking it easy? Once. Just see that bar? That funny big bar. Once that's fulfilled, I might take 1 week. Maybe, okay, half of, what am I kidding? Maybe a stream or two off. Just to mentally recharge the faculties up in my noggin. Concerns there. Blue goes, nah, I like want to know why the animatronics are friendly in the second movie. Because from what I know, the animatronics should not be friendly. And I've been wondering why the girl keeps saying they were friends. You definitely need to watch the first movie then. Honestly, I think the first movie had more depth and a psychological take on things. The second one was, I would say, suffering from sequelism. You know how it doesn't really top the first one. The
Yeah.
right. I was saying that if you want to watch the FNAF 2 movie, you either gotta be a fan or you watch the first one. If you watch it with that context,
Yeah.
it's kinda yeah.
Yeah. The second one leaves much to be desired.
Much to be decided.
I was even excited about it.
Heck, at least we got to see it.
hmm
But yes. Anywho, hello, Weepy. Man. I am really surprised with how quickly time seems to be flying. Is it because I've fallen into routine? Oh, I dare say rot. A repetitiveness of patterns that I just go through every day. Not much is going on, no real external stimuli happening. Aside from what I see in VR chat, and of course, and the Discord every now and then. Hello, Salis. Welcome. Zoom out a bit there. A little bit there. As you may notice, the garb is a bit different. We shall stay this way, at least in the thematically Christmas worlds, until holiday season ends. The gold and inlaid patterns are starting to grow on me, though. I might transfer some of it to my actual black coat. Those are the same, one's just an acronym, Nord.
Yeah, it's an acronym.
Girl best friend, huh? Hey, I'm surprised you didn't roll in a tank, Blue. Hello, Tiago. I'm doing okay. Had to fight the blanket demons earlier, but lo and behold, we are victorious, for I am live, and I did not succumb to napping for five more minutes. Over the past couple of weeks, I've developed a crippling anxiety. Pray tell why. You've found romance, your heart has found solace, yet it seems it has taken a detrimental effect based on, well, what you said. Shouldn't it be the opposite? You find courage, confidence, peace. As I this all the way in America, GBF is near. The test of convenience. I vaguely recall having a similar conversation with somebody else. Sustaining long distance relationships. Will you cave in and simply give in to convenience? Or will you hold strong and face the challenges? Despite the other one being far apart. Make sure the love doesn't fizzle out before you guys actually are able to be with each other. Chemicals only last so long, you know. Vesper says, correcting controller misbehavior 1 sec. What's new? Meta being meta. Oh, is that a troublesome thing?
Yeah, I have the window open so I can still see what's going on. It's just my left controller. Yeah, lovely.
Lovely.
Meta. What's new?
Come join us in
There
America
we
for a
go.
Sick Tattoo sandwich. Hello, Beth. Nice to see you here. How are things going on your end? I'm sure the folks visiting your place and you being impromptu tour guide of the year again should be happening sooner than later. Ah, showing them around, yes. Okay, I'm not reading that blue because that's gross. On Sunday, oh no, we only have less than a week before we lose Beth. He's gonna go on radio silence for, what was that, like 2 weeks? I kind of hope that the high altitude sucks some of the energy out of them. You just show them around the corner and then think, oh, I think it's better if we sit down and just chill at your lovely home, son.
I mean, it's cold, high altitude. You
Mhm.
wouldn't be tired.
That's true. When it's chilly, high altitude, you just kind of got the wind not as efficiently being inside you. Wait, we didn't. I'll stop right there. My English is so bad. My English is so bad. I don't even know how to word it.
You poor creature.
Low oxygen. Zoom out more there. Have my complete photo there. I think that's better. Kind of establishes that there's a Christmas tree over there. I got them till the 5th. So on Sunday, that's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 21st until the 5th. We're not gonna see Beth for a while there. Wow, if it isn't Axel. Hi. This world looks so cozy. This is Cozy Calm, updated with the Christmas aesthetic. I hope this becomes a separate instance from the usual because this is also holly and jolly. It looks really nice. Let's look at this place. Hello, Mitzi. Did you get the rest that we also pressure you to have? Ah, yes. Being bad friends by scolding somebody who isn't getting the proper amount of hours, prioritizing socializing more than actual bed rest. Ah, yep, adjusted the futon. Over the weekend, yes. Last night, for sure. 100%. I'll take your word for it then. Sleep is the best time of the day. I also love the minigame by the tip jar. Oh, this! Yes, I reduced his opacity because I didn't want him to be intrusive and, well, while he's there to help, we all want the eyes to be diverted here. It's not like I'm, putting that distracting element so your focus would be diverted towards filling up this fundraising goal I have or anything. Oh, of course not. Totally streaming because I don't need to put food on the table and things.
It's so expensive.
Yes, living is expensive, ain't it, Vesp?
Christmas, living, life in general, but
Yes. Well, if it isn't Cinder Collie. Hi there. I was tempted to go drop by and say hello to you in VR chat when I saw you online, but alas, would not want to disturb you. Perchance you were attending to a medical emergency, somebody with a phantom injury, some phantom pain that needs some PT. Living is a chore, according to Nordex. Right? The longest chore that we gotta tend to until the day we die. When did you get a low opacity text box and why? to give more context to people. Yes. Trying to be as unintrusive as possible. And so people can know what the heck I'm talking about when they watch the VODs. Speaking of which, Fluffy, thank you. What more is there to say, aside from me expressing my gratitude in as few and as efficient words as possible? Tender says, I've been jumping in and out of VRC trying to adjust the new VRCFT tracking settings. If you have a small amount of patience, you simply turn on the calibration feature and then voila, somehow it works better. But if you're like me, I fine-tune my thresholds until I get a happy, personalized set of stats. And it's a per avatar basis too. What I have for the Hydra is most definitely not the same for my Nova, for example. Did you miss the caves? A new hive world opened up. So we have something worse than Ocean, I assume. So Planet British Butter is gone, but a new one has taken its place. Yes. You remember
Lovely.
Ocean, right? Such a lovely, charming place.
It took us so long to kill that. What was it?
The Hive
King
Lord. The
something.
Hive Lord.
The
Or
Hive
the big
Lord.
old
Hive
giant
Lord, yeah.
worm. We actually took it down though. Were we with Beth back then? I don't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were with
Beth
Beth
and
when we
Dawn, I
took that
believe.
thing down. Yeah.
mostly tanks.
Hey, at least. Yes. Nowhere near as bad as Ocean. Yeah. The moment Hive Lords and Dragon Roaches are involved in one planet, and then you have the what? The Predator strain? Exciting. Ruptures. Yes, Rupture strains. The worst. Imagine a Bile Titan Rupture strain, right? It's underground until it's right before you. Also, I'm gonna go hydrate, chat. I suggest you do too. We shall conserve our water and go. At least I hope it lasts until the end of the stream. Last stream, I streamed for 5 hours. My goodness, it doubled the runtime of what I usually do. Can't help it. I was in the presence of Kaz Hallows. I was with Cinder. I was with Bomberdactyl and many other folks. Speaking of Phantom Pain, says Salis, fun fact of the day, VR can be used as treatment to help amputees with legitimate phantom limb pain. It effectively diminishes the pain and some believe can cure it. You know, I do see truth in this, right? Because it's right there. You see the limb that was missing. Voila! I have a leg in game, except it obviously I can't raise it unless I do funny tracker shenanigans. And yeah, grain of truth there. If it helps people, then fantastic.
In the event, though, it's someone just screaming, crying over being poked in VR. I don't believe that's what phantom pain can be adequately called.
Yeah, well,
Even phantom allergies. I'm sorry, but that one furry that you've seen on TikTok screaming about being allergic to tomatoes, that's just
I know
attention
what you're talking
seeking.
about. Attention seeking. Ain't that true? You know, there's a way to get attention without being obnoxious or pathetic about it, right?
Yeah.
Ever heard of the
Hey,
funny phantom
Sorry, go ahead.
pregnancies? I don't know if that's just a joke going on.
oh, that I really, really hope that's a joke because that's just gross.
I don't know, man. Some of these people, I swear. Tomato incident became quite viral, says Mitzi. Oh, did it? Gosh. Did you change something in your character? Yes, check out the coat. I'm now festive.
Yeah, it's gone viral to the point where I wouldn't doubt if someone came up to us and like tried to throw a tomato at us if we ever tried a public instance.
Yeah, no.
It just really with this new coat I've got on.
Yeah. Who's the Phantom Father? Fluffy goes, what do you mean I'm phantom pregnant for 5 months now? He says. Really? I mean, it's only been 2 months since October. How can it be 5 months unless... Oh yeah, sorry, meant to. Yeah, well, Fluffy made the correction. He said two. Mitzi says, I frequently hear people joking about the Phantom senses in public. Even outside of VR chat, I hear people meme about the Phantom app. That's true, right? It's hard not to make fun of it when people exaggerate it to such an absurd degree that it's not even funny. It's lost its comedic effect, if that was the intention in the beginning. Altogether, but...
It was funny for a while.
It was funny for a while, right? A gag.
What's next? Phantom anxiety? Phantom depression? Because a lot of VR chatters have that in their bio.
It's one thing to be mentally ill. It's another thing to be mentally stupid. You need to learn to discern the difference. Blue goes, okay, I've definitely already gotten new to the new Vesper Abbey. Just look at an old pic and then look a bit off. Oh, trust me, Vesper is vastly improved by now. Did a bit more tinkering in Blender yesterday, and I do believe we have balanced out what needs to be balanced out. Looking great, doesn't she? Obligatory zoom in. There you go. I am Phantom working on my thesis as Mr. Truth. Yeah, that is closer to truth. Than you realize. You see Mr. Toivo here. Ah, yes, excellent. Very deadpan kind of person. Intellectual. Surprisingly, a super duper sweaty gamer when it comes to War Thunder. I was like, whoa. You see, he's working on a thesis, right? And, seeing friends online on Discord while you're slaving away typing some paper surely serves as a definitive temptation to whatever productive task you have at hand. And, yeah, totally not distracted by playing the Division for a few floors in the summit and whatnot, right? And then, all of a sudden, when it came to me asking for 3D stuff, it's like, I don't know, man, I'm feeling tired. He goes back to working. Yes. This is super salty work, I can imagine. You still need to figure out the scales thing. Or else I'm just gonna hand draw the normals. I'm gonna bust out my drawing tablet again and then figure out how TokyoZilla did these fantastic arm scales I did. Except I need to extend it to certain other parts of my body.
I think it'll be great, though.
Batty
It's
Sally
just
said,
figuring things out.
maybe it's time for some Vesper fan art. Quickly, take a look. take a screenshot or go to my VR chat pictures at the Discord and then see how many photos of her there actually exists. Yes. But so thank you. Baldo Cam. My goodness, how could I have forgotten to thank you? Thank you for the resubscription. That's been 4 months of support. Okay, here you go. Hope you become a long-time viewer. Glad you're not bored of. Blue goes. The way I see it, people saying they have mental disorders for attention is basically just another form of blackface only for. I don't know about that. We need an updated Dragon D's. Oh, that emote, right. I have to contact a certain artist for that. Her plate is kind of full at the moment, so there's no new emojis and whatnot.
Yeah.
But let's see when the commission slots open up again. Really busy, especially this December month. Oh boy.
Yeah. Lots of gifts, lots of family things to worry about. So, she needs a breather.
Yeah. Smooth Geb becoming rough Geb. Oh, no, just gonna equalize things. As you may notice, I am very smooth skinned in certain parts, and then I have my nice old chitinous plates on certain parts of my body. At least you have good reference. Gathered already. Yes. Christmas is just blink of an eye. It's going to be Christmas Eve, and I'm gonna be saying on stream, "Can you believe it's Christmas tomorrow?" But of course, I'm gonna save it for that actual stream day. Oh. There we go. Who's the artist that does the little emotes? Or is it different people depending on type? Gepe and the Gebo, actually all the emojis you see, aside from the animated ha 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 ones, has been made by Yura Yura. You need to check her out. Well, she's commissions wise, she's open. She just doesn't openly advertise it. You go DM her if you guys wanna have something done. Last I remember, she was working on a webcomic that's taking forever to update. Alright, see you, Mr. Truce. Thanks for dropping by. The one who made the laughing ha 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 emote on Discord is Carol. Fantastic artist. Gosh, works with the big name VTubers and whatnot. Live to the master. Is that the person who did the happy birthday Vesper? What was your happy
Yura?
birthday
Yes.
art again? Yes.
It's the one that's my current profile picture.
Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, that one. That's Yura. Right? You see, Yura hasn't really worked with furry art before. It's her first foray into it. She told me she's a challenge and she sees this as a good opportunity for practice. Let's see. Give me a moment. Axel and Howler made the deal. So they're gonna do the doll Christmas map. Speaking of a Christmas map,
Yay.
you know, I haven't been able to hold anything this past week. So I was thinking, what if we have an impromptu meetup today, right? The Vesper is free, so she can be available, and I'm going to open this to everybody on the Discord, and that is in the VR chat group. I'll open the instance right after stream, yeah? Yes. If you heard it, then awesome. If not, then oh well. I will be working. Too bad. So, you know, I might be able to stop by. Cool. Would always be nice to see wonderful new faces. Actually says, I don't know when I'll be able to join that. I gotta go take my car somewhere in a couple of hours. Then why don't you take your car over to the meetup? Win-win. Also loving the festive coat. Hey, right? Isn't it cool? If you look hard enough to my overly decorated front, so it looks gaudy, you will notice there's actually a Christmas tree over here by the brooch. And by the collar. Somewhere there.
Christmas tree by the guild band.
Yes, that's true. Vesper just looks Christmassy already by default, so no
I'm a
real
very
outfit
warm
change.
colored. Whatever you'd like to call me, Bat Dragon.
Yes. Blue, remember the condition and it's still in effect. May we see the design on the back, you know, for you, sure. How do we do this? Alright. So we're gonna borrow the Vesper cam real quick. Jajan! This is the back of the coat. This is actually the same coat I wore for Forality Somna, just a different color. You may notice what those patterns are. The constellation is actually, well, a reflection of what's underneath the coat. My markings of my body are the same. So I figured I'd, well, show it off as well. This is the color. Look at that. The compass, the moon, the Christmas tree, and a shining, sparkling star. So there you have it. Now, where was the Vesper cam? Here, was it? I think it was here. Oh, no, here. Here we go. Center of focus. Love all the little details. Thanks. And this thing, right? This, because, you know, I believe in science. If you know from what film that is, plus 10 points to you. Glad you liked the designs. Advanced RGB is currently on a 25 stream streak. So that's what, 3 months straight of watching? My goodness, how many streams do I make per month? 3, 6, 9, 12, 24. No, that's 2 months and 1 stream. Wow. Thanks. Goodness. 6-9. Mm. Mm. German sausage. Which I could really have right now. Smoked sausages that I usually buy from my local deli places. Always such a treat. Now, unlike other people, I don't fry them with oil. I go just boil a very shallow, a shallow pan of water. Put my sausage there whole, and then set it there for a few minutes until it's nice and super tender and juicy. Well, don't discount your loyalty, Waffle Carp. I'm glad you're here for 25 streams consecutively. Fluffy. I have no idea what the password is. Huh. Keep on trying until you do. Hang on, Gab. Earlier you said you watched the FNAF 2 movie. I don't know. Take your best guess where and how. I will neither confirm nor deny anything. Maybe the Jetters. Maybe I actually have a motorcycle already and I've driven to the theater and yes. Or no. No, I don't have a bike. Not yet. Man. If only we had winter here, I would just be walking past the Honda showroom, right? Snowfall and everything, and just hands stuck in my little coat and stare at that one machine I've been yearning for many years. One day. And continue by. Of course, we don't have winter though, so it's less dramatic. Man, one day. Hopefully soon, I know. I'll go open up a like only beans to earn extra money on the side. I'll just take pictures of the variety of legumes and the beans, and that's what I'm gonna sell, yes. Then we go in comms and laugh at Rat. That's the funny thing. We don't have to be connected intercom to intercom. It can always just be intercom to Discord to intercom. Hey, we're riding at the same time, even though we can't see each other. That's what I'm looking forward to. I get to ride on my bike again, go on trips. I'm not alone. I have people by my ear. Wow, that's a fun prospect. Hey guys, yeah, I surprisingly made it alive. The jump? No, it's just a little scrape. Don't worry, it'll buff out. It's a bruises heal. But yeah. Here we are. Hey, Gep. Have you been able to experience winter before? I have. I believe when I was 2 years old. Or 3, was it? Mainland China. Very cold. Gosh. Far into the northern reaches of it. I remember it. It's just white. I was tightly wrapped, and I wish I had more details, but I was very young. But as an adult, no, I haven't. Wish I could. Oops. I accidentally moved the stats window. Uh-oh. Did I? Did I put this darn thing back? There we go. Where were we? Were those floating particles always there? Am I crazy? No, it's been here. See, this little floating thingamabob you're seeing on the camera. It's like dust. Except somehow it's floating upwards. What's this? Earlier today, I was rambling on for 3 hours straight to a friend about FNAF, and I wanted to talk about the second movie so bad, says Blue, but he didn't want spoilers. Who wants spoilers in movies unless explicitly asked for? Huh. So we watched it after we got home, so I could say the things I wanted to say. Ah, yeah, so you just... Oops, I didn't know I was inside the thing. You... I was surprised Vesper was really quiet after watching the movie too. I was expecting more of a, oh yeah, did you know that the Sendachi would like dork out about the whole thing?
I did dork out more later though.
Ah, yeah. Hi, Dorian. Now, where were we? Finally, my stream ping showed up. On my end, at least. Yeah, Wesley, good luck trying to. Good luck trying to get into the server. Yeah, 3 words. Totally. You don't have to be a code breaker for it.
No.
For those of you that know the password, shh. Remember, no spoilers. Can't let them know now. Right. We're not cracking the Enigma. Oh, the Enigma machine. I remember that mission from Medal of Honor. I think it was from the PlayStation 2 game. But yes, aside from Mitch, who is unable to attend, I wonder who else we can go confirm in attendance for a little post-stream community meet. I know normally announces a day prior, but I'm sort of a impromptu type of guy. I am definitely there. We have Fluffy. I don't know, Waffle. How about you try? Oh, wait. No, right. Meetings, I'll be there. Oh, darn. You being so highly sought after is unable to attend. I perfectly understand. I won't be working for 2 weeks after Friday, so I'm not doing anything next week apart from Christmas things, of course. Don't worry, today ain't gonna be the only meetup open to people. As I've said, I will be there on Christmas. I shall be open to keeping company those that don't have any family things to do on Christmas Eve. I'll try to be there the whole day, or at least as long as my trackers can be. Nothing fancy. Just some nice old relaxation in a cozy world, probably like this. I'll be late if I can't be there. Sure. Assuming my stream runs for 2 hours and a half and my trackers die at 6 hours and a half, I shall be present for around 3 to 4 hours today. Unless things really go on a roll, then I can charge and I'll be here longer. Man, so close yet so far. I had my fun with the password, I'm just messing around. Reminds me of Zion again. We were rooting for her for like an hour and a half, right? Geb, do you have a Christmas movie that is your favorite? I haven't seen The Polar Express yet. Vesper was suggesting I go watch it. But so far, it's either... Does Nightmare Before Christmas count as a Christmas movie? Or was it the
I think
Halloween
so.
one?
Yes.
I think it's
It's
both. It's both. It's both a Halloween and a Christmas movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Either that or Home Alone. Definitely gotta be the Home Alone movies. Because it's funny.
Can't go wrong with the classic.
Yes. What's this? Doran says, Gib, it's not so much me being highly sought after, but like if I feel up for being around a bunch of people. Completely understandable. Just like me, I have a social battery of just this. I've been trying to go to the furry hideout, more so than just being there once in the blue moon in order to somehow train my social battery. I think it has increased by a grand total of 4% from the past month. An improvement's an improvement. The Grinch. The Grinch. A classic by Jim Carrey. Of course. Die Hard. Yippee-ki-yay. Bad Bruce Willis is but a husk of a man nowadays. So sad. My social battery has gone down a bit, if anything. Probably got permanently damaged after that incursion into Just B Club, the Black Cat, and most of all, the wonderful McDonald's not age-gated instance. The battery has definitely grown since spending time in VR chat, says Bombar. Slowly, but it works. You see, in the not right company, it depletes really quickly. But sometimes you just find that one person you can vibe with and wish your batteries last longer than 6-7 hours. So I completely understand. Yeah, used to have those moments before. Sometimes the joy of Sometimes the joy of VR chat is the spontaneous moments, dare I say intimate, that you share with other people. The conversations, the company, the play, the reading of body language, yes. Communication that you can pick up from a non-human form. It's intriguing, it's exciting. The topic's foreign, yet fascinating. Again, it's all about the right company, right place. Doesn't even have to be the right time. Right time is a rarity when it comes to online things. You at least expect having a good time at the last half a day when you actually have to sleep early and like, oh man. And then when you actually have time, nothing happens on that free day. What's this? Michigos, my last encounter in public, there was a lap dance in the hideout. Was it a good dance at least? I have yet to experience one. I mean, not that I'm actively looking for it. I'm just saying, from my perspective, I have yet to see it up front. I always admire people with a set of skills to showcase. And I think dancing is one of those skills. I have 2 left feet. I can't dance to save my life. Just do that. A little shuffle, a little boogie. But actual choreographed movements. Right. I'd sooner bite the bullet than do any sort of performance. Yep, just ask Fluffy. He's fully booked already. No worry. I'll just train this dragon bat over here, and then she can do all the movements that intrigues me. Just imagine grabbing an imaginary
Are you sure
paw.
about that? I'm gonna fall on my face.
Gym visits really are just choreographed movements. Yes, training routines. The nice thing about going to the gym is you can feel the increase in your stats. Each time you go, each week that passes, like, damn, I'm getting physically stronger. I last longer. Good luck, Bladen. It would be fantastic if your entertainer of choice, a dancer, this and that, both has the skills, the equipment, such as full body tracking, and face tracking. It's intriguing, isn't it? Very different when you interact with somebody that doesn't have face tracking. That's very mannequin like, puppeteered. But having a conversation with somebody like this, for example, imagine seeing this in VR. You see the depth, the projection, the person's right before you, very much alive. The conversations all of a sudden, well, you start to be careful because you're actually interacting with another person. Well, you perceive it more. Some of the best times in VR chat have been when I was most reluctant to get on, says Bambar. But forced myself, not only but on several occasions. Yeah, true. Ah. At the same time, there are moments where I feel fatigue from hanging out with people like it's just yeah. I think Vesper knows what I mean. It's different from having a low social battery and just fatigue from probably like the same set of company and whatnot. Nothing really happens. Huh. Lauren goes, yeah, I don't know how you put up with spending time with me. The thing is, my social battery drains slower when things aren't as noisy. So
Yeah.
that's probably that.
It's a little harder to hang on when things are loud.
You see, usually when no, not usually. When I hang out with friends, it's not like a meetup or intervention about a certain topic. You always know that I will bring goofballing into the table. It's gonna be some inane topic or some for $50,000 sort of deal that's gonna crack up the room and make you wince. It- I have fun when I'm in company I trust. Gosh. Oh, I would be cancelled so quickly if you can hear my off-stream humor. Oh my goodness. What was that? I was thinking of this funny jacket design. Prior to me having my nice old festive white and red jacket, I said, maybe it's a bit too much. The colors everywhere. I'm normally just black, right? So I'll have a black coat, have a nice old red armband with maybe white, and then like Santa supporter initials. Like, put there, and I said, that's probably not a great idea. Yeah, good luck with the password. Try until you die. If you really want to get in, yes. Nord goes, Gib, your off-stream humor isn't too bad at all. Great, because it's just all about being funny for Comedy Cafe. People have forgotten how to take a joke and be lighthearted. It's so serious nowadays. Oh, that's culturally inappropriate. That's racist. No, it's not. It's meant to be funny. I make fun of my own race too. I'm Asian. I gobble up rice like hamsters with grain.
Hell, Gab can even vouch me. I'm literally the whitest person in the group, I think. Well, aside from our European friends. But still, I'm out here making fun of the fact that, oh yeah, I'm so white I'll get lost in a snowstorm.
Ah, my goodness. I'm so glad the people around me aren't the you have to walk around eggshell sort of deal, right? There are great people there, but if you have to be careful with them in conversation sort of deal, when it comes to humor, it's like, okay, we're not really gonna click. Sort of like how it stops momentum, right? One moment you're having a great topic about how colorful trains are and whatnot, how the choo-choo sound just feels so nice to the ear, and then you remember, hold on, I can't talk about the color of coal. Okay, make no mention that it's black, make no mention that it's black. Did you know not coal is really black? And then bam, it comes out, they get offended and whatnot. The conversation stops and dies. A frost forms. Like, was that the right person to even have a conversation about trains with? Literally a puff of fresh air. Ha. Have you ever done improv? Well, aside from the little stage plays I did during high school, not really. I guess this is the closest to improv I can do. Think about it. I have to sit here entertain you for 2 hours and a half minimum 3 times a week with no script written. And I have to be dynamic about it, where my streams are purely conversational. I can take a joke most of the time, but some things go over your head. I think there's a difference between jokes that make you laugh and then really trying hard to be edgy, tasteless jokes. Like, it's not even funny in the first place. Like, you try to wrap your head around it. How's that funny? What's 6-7? I don't want to know what it is. Don't explain it to me. I don't want to rat the old neurons. This is absolutely improv. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. That's it. Nothing special happens. What's this? All I heard was that one meme I like trains from ASDF. Was that ASDF movie, was it? That's the one we watched with Suction Cup Man, right? I really like that. That series, it's so funny. You could probably do it in a jazz bar. So, you would have me sitting in front of a crowd, microphone at hand, spotlight on top, and then... So, those funny towers, right? Yeah, tomatoes, eggs everywhere being thrown. Animations. Hello, Split Laura. Hmm. You see, Filipinos, our brand of humor is very it's I wouldn't call it abrasive. We're very outspoken about things. And we have no breaks. We have no breaks at all. It's similar to Islander humor. We would make fun of everything. We would make fun of everything through the lens of a Westerner, for example. It would be absolutely racist and like fascist and whatever you guys call it. To us, it's just all about the spirit of laughing. So that's why sometimes we're not really compatible with a lot of the internet crowd. But I can assure you, you hang around with a Filipino, you're gonna be in for a good time when it comes to the funny moments. You will learn to laugh again. Blue Ghost, I don't really understand why people get offended at some things. Certain things I understand because it's something relatable and dramatic, so I get offended at them, but just tell the person who says it I don't feel comfortable talking about it, something and move on to another. Wow, that is a very long wall of text. I guess you give him a little warning, right? Think about it. I've been homeless, right? I've been poor. I've been drinking dirty ass rainwater at one time because I just wanted to try. Because I was trying to make light of my situation. Might as well add that to the bucket list, right? But, you know, I get irritated at people who have everything in their life going for them, a good amount of money. They have all the services of their government being provided. They're in a first world country. And then they gloat about it and complain about the smallest of things. But I don't give them a death stare about it. I don't want them to not exist. It's just, come on, man. You got better stuff than I ever did, and you gloat about it. And I start to make fun of. It doesn't stop me from still making humor about what I went through and whatnot. I don't know. I bad events that happened in my life never molded me into a spineless snowflake that a lot of people deem themselves to be. You can't even make a joke around certain people nowadays without them calling you out or, canceling you on Twitter. Imagine, Vesper.
Yeah, that's why I don't really use my social media a whole lot. Gosh, I think about it. I haven't even posted photos of my Luna Beast and posted any photos on like Instagram, Twitter, and all that since I was in the Luna Beast.
Lack of empathy or personal experience with hardship, says Bombardactyl. Some people can put themselves in the shoes of others. Yeah, that I sort of understand. They just don't get it. What is it like to be poor and what is it like to be bullied and whatnot. So, that's why whenever something like that happens, I tell them straight, hey man, let me tell you how it is on my end, right? So this is how much we earn compared to yours. I didn't complain about it. I managed to make it work. Right? So you may want to change your perspective about what you call a problem and what is simply a minor inconvenience. Ever had to live through like 4 cans of sardines in a week and eat old rice from an eatery next to you because that's the only spare food they can give at that time? Yes. Blue Ghost, but yeah, no. Things like the British slander that goes on in the server I find funny and encourage it. Right? See, Blue can take a joke. Howler goes, maybe it's the folks who didn't have it, though, that turn into snowflakes. I think it just goes into how should I say this? How oh God, I'm gonna go into the territory of discussing cloud. I'm gonna stay and steer clear away from that. Do you? You wanna be toxic and loud on the internet? Wanna make other problems your problems? Yeah, go ahead. Cool. That works for you. It doesn't work for me. Just, you do that over there in your space, and I'll be here in my space, not giving a crap about it. Yeah? Hmm. I have better things to worry about aside from
Yeah.
trying to cancel someone on the internet. What's this? Well, the Serbian humor is special too. I find Serbian humor so funny. Like, there was an animation I used to watch. It's like Eastern European humor, nitty gritty, straight to the point. Dallas yells, only thing I can understand people expressing them discomfort over would be like Law and Order Special Victims Unit level topics. That's what we don't discuss here anyway. I don't know, man. I'm too old for that crap. And when I say I'm too old, I've outgrown it. There was a time where gossip is juicy and you want to indulge, you want to throw more fuel into the fire. It's tempting, right? It keeps a conversation going. There's a cohesion that forms between like-minded individuals about a problem that's been blown up beyond its original proportions. Then again, you realize you're gonna be one of those guys. Like, mm-mm. I haven't seen the new game. It's funny how some content creators out there focus solely on clouds and having this long, super detailed breakdown video with Google Documents, screenshots, and all sorts of stuff, evidence when it comes to like calling out a certain other person. I get it if it's valid, like they're the predators. Goodness me, those people do not deserve to exist. But when it comes to something that they said and speculations, like they're being phobic about something, like, oh my goodness, did you know this person's afraid of spiders? They said that trains should only run on railroads and not on roads. Do you realize how train phobic that is? God, where's the inclusivity? Why can't they run on roads? Right? What if they want to be a car and not just a train? You know what I mean? Mm, mm, mm. I'm like completely past topics like that. Please don't include me. Because trains can't steer. Right? Debate happens, but this and that. Oh, if you mechanically change the steering mechanism of a train, they can run on roads. Just gotta do a little bit of surgery so they don't run on rails, and they can put rubber wheels and pretend to be a car, sort of deal. Right? Notice how I'm encroaching a very sensitive topic, which a lot of people, the vocal minority, will be loud about if I continue. That's why I'm gonna stop. People all love that on the internet. They relish that. Well, not all, but a vast majority at least. Especially in the furry fandom. Icky. A buzz. Yes. Let's call it that. A buzz. That's why there are road trains, right? That's true. I've seen them. They're like interconnected tracks or some sort. And they look really cool. To be fair, Australia has such a large tract of land with enormous distances between their population centers, so it's feasible. I like to think of Twitter drama like a reality TV show. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the most, I'm just gonna sit back, relax, and watch it unfold. That-
Yeah, because if you get involved, that's a
Oh
whole
my
mess you
God.
don't even want to be a part of.
100%. Just don't get involved with Twitter drama if you want to keep mentally sane. Promise. No matter how tempting it is, and oh my gosh, I cannot stress it enough. When I ask what base you're using, your avatar looks really good. See, that's a proper way of asking a streamer something. This is called the Hydra Gia by TokyoZilla. TokyoZilla is a fantastic content creator, avatars and digital art. Such a distinct style when it comes to aesthetics. The texture work is just immaculate.
It's just don't be disappointed if you don't see the same hands and paws.
Yes, you
This
see,
is what we call a kit bash.
a kit bash. This is a kit bash though. The Hydra Gia does not have these hands and does not have this face tracking of at least this level of fidelity. There's a lot of edits I've done in order to be the gibbos that you see and know. Exactly, just pop some popcorn and enjoy the show. Huh? It's funny. It's funny watching a bunch of morons be moronic around each other. Is it just me or have you made little changes to the neck? What about my neck? Pray tell, what's different? Hold on, too zoomed in. What changed? It should still be the same. The only real change, if you have a very sharp eye, is whenever I speak, my esophagus, my Adam's apple actually moves up and down now. A subtle detail that a lot of avatars doesn't seem to implement. Lower quality. No change in quality ever since I've released it. Maybe it's just your video, Blue.
Does not get the same quality as PC.
What? Maybe because I haven't been here as much as I used to. Well, life happens, Blue, so I can't blame you for being busy. Lots of hazards show up, and you gotta deal with it appropriately. Hmm. What was this saying I posted on Twitter? One's level of maturity is determined by how you respect and handle a situation. You're the first person I've seen with an Adam's apple animation. I've thought about it but haven't seen it implement before. It's very simple, really. You just have to I remember going to YouTube last week, I think. It's when I patched it in. And I said, how do people talk? Like, I looked at the anatomical 3D cutout view and I said, whenever you do the O, like the Adam's apple goes down and E, it goes up. So I said, why don't I implement that subtle blend shape to it? Make things more natural. So here I was going to Blender and then I looked at the appropriate vice seams. It's less visible here because I don't use vice seams for stream chat. This is all shape keys. So it's not automatically generated according to my voice. It's actually how my lips move. Using vice seams ain't... for me, I'll show you what it looks like. And it's going to be desynced as well. Alright, so back. This is me with vice seams. I'm trying my best not to move my mouth in order for you to see how it moves. Notice the movement on the throat, right? It looks more natural. O, E. Yes. But I prefer shape keys because I can hold poses that I normally can't with just vice seams. Does it require some retraining of the microphone audio to go to OBS and just add a delay? I have a 0.2 second delay to my audio so it matches up with my lips. Giving the secrets of the trade to the public. Come on, be fantastic. Look awesome. Try vice seams. Disabled if you have face tracking. Looks more natural.
However, if you have guests around, say, like, I'm a guest on Geb's stream, right?
Yeah.
I have to use Vismes because there's a delay. He's
How do
in
you
the
pronounce it?
Philippines. I'm in the States.
Vismes? Is it not
Vismes.
Viceme? Viseme? What? Have I been reading it wrong the entire time?
Vismes, I don't know. I've just been calling it either or this whole entire time. Vismes, Visemes.
I need to go.
I've just been calling it Vismes.
Copilot, how do you pronounce visemes? Hold on. How do you pronounce visemes in VR chat? Alright, let's do it.
I've heard people call it both, so I don't know if there's any proper pronunciation.
Rhymes with I-seam. Viseam. See, I'm correct. It's visemes. I didn't know my hand was in the way. So there we go.
You're talking to the lady who gets so tongue-tied she called the coyote in Helldiver the coyote.
Coyote.
Okay? Leave me be.
That's true. That's true.
Coyote.
But yeah, so visemes. Right. Try disabling it. Sally says, watching that made me think of Mushu from Mulan. Dragon, not lizard. I don't do that tongue thing. Man, I miss Eddie Murphy. I really miss him a lot. It's too bad he fell out from making movies. He has a certain signature to his humor, right? Like in Coming to America or The Nutty Professor, where he would always just dress up as all the other characters in the family. It's all just him. Lugos, can you imagine if a character model was created with their anatomy in mind? For instance, starting with the brain and bone. The closest I've seen would be certain models that are translucent and they have organs and bones underneath. The easiest example would be I believe the Halloween themed skeletal Nova Beast that's going on. It's interesting. You finally get to see the ghostly Nova Beast flesh outside. And then you get to see their skeletal anatomy underneath. gives me a better understanding of, so that's how things work. Some people sculpt models like those to get realistic shapes, but yes, some of the underlying stuff that just gets covered up. I saw an artist on Twitter a few days ago, and they would start their sketch not with a circle. No, they would draw the skeleton to the nerves, the circulatory system, the muscles, and then finally erase all of it and draw Freyren on top of it. In such a great manner. It's like, what? Impractical, but absolutely cool. That's one way to flex. It's sort of like SpongeBob in that one episode. Do you remember that, Vesper? Or he was
Yeah.
with Squidward in that art class thing. First, you draw
Right.
like the guide. It's so good, and then he just erases it, and then it becomes the simple thing. It's so funny. I have to hydrate, chat.
Mine has a straw, so you might see my tongue poke out.
Those artists are wild. Yes, yes, they are. Ah, H2O. A friend bought me the first 4 FNAF games for Christmas. I want to play them, but I'm so jumpy today. Well, you yourself said you were dealing with anxiety, so do the smart course of action and not play something that's wholly reliant on jump scares. Not rainwater whiskey, no. Just really diluted pineapple juice because all the ice melted. Ever tasted those infused drinks? That's what I taste.
Yes, like they just
Yeah.
set a pineapple next to the sparkling water and had it
Yeah.
whisper to each other.
Exactly, just like the infused.
But yeah, those games are nerve-wracking because they're heavily jump scared based, also very heavily strategy based.
Yes, that's true. The tension. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna set up a whole wheel of names to get loaded for Helldivers. We're gonna try 10 difficulty 10 mic per planet. Have fun, Blue. Everybody's been playing the Division as of late on the Discord. It's kind of funny. We have 9 people now. We need that 8-man raid we did. One of the better times in my life, but it was clearly challenging. We were unprepared. We're all like training up so we can go challenge it again. Speaking of which, let's see who's online. As usual, we have the 4 in the drive-thru. Speaking of training.
As for VR chat, we are literally the only ones in our friend group here.
Yeah. You would be surprised with how small the number of people me and Vesper actually hang out with. Like probably in one hand.
Yeah.
No, I've never told you to get Helldivers. I mean, the Division Blue. Go focus on Helldivers.
It was just an observation that, well, a lot of people in the server are playing it. That's all.
Yes. It's fun. Right?
It is. Yeah.
Open world RPG, discover things, dynamic events.
Hmm.
Something I've been looking for.
Not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm still enjoying it. It's hard not to when you've got good company around, anyways.
Good company. That's us, chat. I may or may not have put too much espresso in my hot chocolate, and now I can't draw a consistent line. So you
Oops.
have successfully induced anxiety and jitters, actually more so on the jitters part. Congratulations, Salis. Hmm. Wow, you have to deal with the consequences of your actions. The nerve-wracking, literally, consequence of your caffeinated intake. Probably not the best thing to consume prior to drawing. Speaking of doing things before, having things before doing them, I've been surprisingly a week of sleeping 7 to 8 hours straight on a consistent schedule. And I've found what helps is I would listen to a certain genre of music, which is the Armenian duduk. Like it's like a flute thing. Music. Prior to going to bed. It's so nice. What's the hot topic of the day? Chocolate milk. Chocolate milk is always nice. Good old Swiss Miss that's hot, or the thing you can buy in bottles that's chilled and very thick. Such a delight. Though, prepare for bloating later on, especially if you're lactose intolerant. It was an accident. Yeah, sure. Whoops! I accidentally made a cup of coffee and somehow it landed in my mouth and I swallowed it all. Oh. One of those white, gray, pink noises work for some. I've heard about that. I don't know. When I try to go to bed, I wanna place myself in a scene. I want to imagine, right? I'm the type of person that if you say imagine an apple, I can see it in full 3D before my hands and you can't. I did not know certain people cannot do that. Can you imagine, Vesper, not being able to visualize something? They literally do not have a functioning imagination. That's terrible. Right? When you imagine an apple, can you see it too? Like it's there even though it's not there, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
See, Blue is an example. He can't visualize things. So is his mind's eye totally blind, sort of deal? Again, imagine a BMW but yellow with pink dots all over. A very clashing color palette, Nord. The yellow was nice at first. Aphantasia, is that what it's called? But yeah, the not being able to visualize things. Or I've read too how when you read, and there's no voice in your head, right? Sometimes for me it's
Yeah.
either the character, if I imagine how that's a sound, or it's just my voice reading it out aloud in my head. I think that's called spacing out, Chaos. What's this? I don't get how some people don't have voices. It keeps things fun. Right? Like, I guess you have to have somebody impressionable read it prior, and then, or if you've watched a movie, you know how the actor playing a character sounds, and then you now read the comic book version or just the novel version of it in their voice. Though sometimes the imagination runs too rampant. In my case, the intrusive thoughts, the clown. I don't have a ghostly specter in my head that whispers dark thoughts. No, he's there, but he's sitting in the corner. What I have in my head is a clown that says so many things that's gonna get me smacked if I let him take over. And a little
We
bit
call
of
him
that comes
Tismo.
out. Yeah, we call him Tismo the clown. Tismo the clown likes seeing melanized people slapping watermelons and listening to it. And then he has to say something extra about it. That sort of deal. And other inappropriate humors, like this disabled guy falling over in the bus, and then I like Jesus is gonna get so mad at you if you if you laugh. Have you seen those videos where you're not supposed to laugh, and then there's just like a cutout of Jesus speaking over your shoulder? So yeah, I try to behave to the best of my ability. One fun ability though is once you have a
Asterisk peeks from under the tree from inside a box. Asterisk YLOTAR.
once you have a imagination that actually functions, you can visualize things. Like, for example, you're in a room. Cameron, thank you so much. Lovely to have you. Almost 2 years. Can you believe that? Hope to see you next month, and then month after that. So back to my discussion. Is, for example, you can immediately pull up a rough 3D view of the building or location you're at. If you know like how your room layout is, you can see it from the top view or imagine yourself in various places simply by using recall. Right? I miss it when I was still a kid. Because my daydreams would what's this? My daydreams would be very vivid. The whole staring outside of the classroom, and what would it be like if a dragon flew over and starts burning the city, and then how are you and your friends gonna cope with the situation? You become heroes, and then next thing you know, class is over. The teacher like smacks your desk. Like, Gabus! Yes, sir!
Or like
Yeah.
being bored on a car ride and just watching houses go by, so you're just imagining someone running along with you on the roof.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Imagination. I'm glad you have it too, Vince.
Imagination.
Imagination. What's this? My So Blue can't imagine an apple, period. But you can somehow conjure an ice salad, a toast sandwich, a bagel sandwich, and other atrocities. Yes. Beth is here because Histral has left for the day, so I can listen in on my office. Hi there, Beth. Welcome to the TV program of Kip.
Yes.
Yes. Glad to have you here. Excuse me. I was just telling people about how certain individuals do not have the capability to imagine things. They don't have a functioning imagination. Which seems like such an alien concept to me, not being able to visualize. It's funny though, because our imagination is now being replicated by computers in the form of generative AI. Because sometimes the results are absurd and dreamlike and yeah. And hilarious. The ninja parking on the broomsticks. I close my eyes, I don't see crap. I don't see crap either. More than half the time when I focus and imagine things, I have my eyes open. I just keep them still and like, what does this look like? And then like some Jarvis hologram crap is gonna it's gonna unravel it. Oh, okay. Blue says, then again, when people tell me they can visualize something, it sounds to me like they can actually see that something. True. True. The thing is, most people, it's one thing to imagine an object. On my hand is a red, shiny apple. I can see it. It's right there, even though it's not there. It's another thing to hold it, to have it consistent. Is it still a red shining apple, not one that's spinning with nails on it and it's on fire and then all of a sudden it's a giraffe? Like it's hard actually to hold imagination steady. I know what a red shiny apple looks like, says Beth. I can't? But you can't picture it. Is that it? Oh my. Oh dear, oh dear. Sometimes imagination, with the help of recall, extends past just visualizations. If you stick out your tongue, open your mouth, do that, and imagine there's a salt shaker in your hand, and then you're sprinkling salt into the back of your tongue. Somehow, a percentage of your cells will perceive that there's actual salt there, if it's something you've experienced and done before. Like, I can imagine how it tastes. I can imagine how it smells, right? You extrapolate through existing data that's in your hand. And then comes the, oh, I didn't imagine it would be like this. A correction has been made, and now you do. Imagine is such a widely used word. If you think about it, it's common. Hello, Music High. You didn't miss much. Still the same as ever. Yeah. What an interesting topic. Makes me curious. What do blind people dream of visually if they've never had any visual information in their life? There's a difference between somebody born blind and somebody who became blind later in life. So did you get a new jacket? Yes, I did. Check it out. Fitting of the Christmas theme we have going on, doesn't it? Vesper naturally looks the part too. I mean, look, she's got the whole red and what going on.
I mean, true. I don't really need a Santa hat. Not that it would really sit well on my head anyway. Pickle ears.
The ears kind of stick out. Now I wonder, usually Bombardactyl streams close after my hour of doing so because I would just see in OBS somebody shouting, like giving me a shout out, and oh god, the gossip's happening again. Blue Ghost. I imagine someone who became blind would dream in color. But depending on how long they've been blind, things would probably appear distorted or earlier because they've forgotten exactly what things look like. Ain't that scary? Prior to being blind, all you've been reading is horror novels and movies, and then all of a sudden, bam, your sight is taken away. And that's all you can recall. Nightmares. I'm going to shout you out every time to increase the paranoia. What are the people even saying, Bombar? I'm curious. I've been able to snoop in on two videos, two VODs. Because I had actual time. I didn't greet Vesper. How's it going there? Vesper, music high. Greeting.
Hi. Hello, hello. I'm doing alright myself. Can't complain. No major schoolwork to do. Finals are over, so it is a free few weeks. Couldn't be happier about it.
Right. Fantastic, isn't it? I wonder if we can change the angle a bit. Something like this. No, it doesn't look good. It's better by the Christmas tree. Oh! Tree disappeared from render. Ooh, nice. You can see the Christmas lights. It's pretty cool. Let's see if Cinder Golly's still here. Hi. I've been lurking. Man, don't you have like injured people to tend to or something? Why is there a rice tag in the stream? Because I am 100% Asian. And rice flows through my very being. Because rice is life. Rice is delicious. Hey Geb, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. A little early for it, but I appreciate the greetings. I ain't working today. Ah yes, all the accident involved individuals are on a day off as well. Like, oops, nope, yeah, nope. That amputated arm better stay put, cause Mr. EMT ain't gonna be present today. It's his day off. Gabby's made of rice. Yes, I made of rice. Sure. I buy rice as if I was Asian. It's such a nice staple part of one's meal, right? You can just have rice and then the rest is like meat stew, potted this and that, stir fried veggies, grilled this and that. It just works with everything. Even works as dessert. Rice has gone moldy. You better go throw that away. I'm not Chinese enough to actually eat moldy rice. There's a specific recipe for that, especially the stinky tofu that they do. They make it age and mold over and they serve it as such. What's this? A lot of people trying to verify. Good luck. Rice can go moldy. Yes, it can. Probably if it's past the 4-day mark and it's in a humid place with temperatures well above 25 degrees Celsius. But if you keep it in a nice dryish place and it's cold, the rice can last as long as 3 days. Of course, give it a good sniff first. My secret to keeping rice preserved is adding a tablespoon or two of vinegar into the water that you use. Works like magic. Doubles the life of the rice before it goes bad. You can't taste the vinegar either.
You're not gonna taste them unless you use a high amount.
Yeah, unless you put like half a cup. Well, music how it goes. I don't want to act a bit like a Grinch here, but I don't have much with Christmas. I just see it as another normal day. Well, you've made us aware about it, so it means you want it to not be another normal day. Which is why, as I've said earlier in stream and streams prior, I'm going to make an active effort to be here on the 25th to keep company for those that have VR and are alone on Christmas. No family gathering to attend to, no Christmas celebration, and you just want Christmas in some place or form. And, well, the least I can do is bring you to a nice Christmassy place, and at least you're not gonna be able to say that you were alone, right? This offer is open to everybody that is able to join the community hangouts. Be in the Discord, right? And be in the beer chat group. Wait, just adding vinegar to the water in the rice cooker? Correct. Add like 2 tablespoons of it to your 3 or 4 cup of rice serving. Works miracles. Keeps it fresh. I'll probably be alone for New Year's. I see. Might probably hold something for New Year as well. Let's see. It's on the 1st, maybe the 2nd, or the days prior to it. Does it necessarily have to have a VR headset? That is one fickle little thing I request. I find it really awkward when it's just desktop people attending because they're like statues. Unless you have the face tracking via phone thing. Oh wow, I'll try that next, says Bombard. We usually only make enough to eat right away though. Got one off Marketplace recently, it was like new and loved it. Yeah, mine lasts like 3 days. And it's still good. Just don't leave it outside to, cover it up and don't make it go above 25, 24 degrees Celsius or it's gonna go bad real quick. You have like 2-day stops if that's the case. Bad rice can be super harmful. Oh, yes. Oh, you should probably ask Cinder here. Most likely dealt with a few cases of food poisoning. Speaking of Cinder, Cinder says, I found a recipe for a rice cooker where you add some bouillon, rice vinegar, Chinese sausage, bay leaf, spices, rice vinegar into the rice cook, let it all cook. 100%. It's delicious. I have something similar called Hainanese chicken. So you just put your chicken legs, your thighs on top, put some ginger, sesame oil, scallions, let it cook, and then some chicken bouillons. Delicious. Hello, Strutsky. Strutsky, right? And somehow the topic has veered towards food yet again. I love a good scoopy food, same here. Probably my favorite category of foods, which is anything saucy or soupy poured over nice steaming rice, and meat that is falling off the bone, if any. Man, that slow-cooked lamb from this Persian place nearby. Carrots, the broth, the potatoes. It's just thick food. Strutsky. Really not Stratsky? Strutsky. Rice balls. Right. Ba, 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 ba. So Strutsky, not Strutsky. Strutsky. I came back to the talk about rice and I am not disappointed. I freaking love rice. Rice is life. Rice is life. That's great. Can I get a hint? Read the handbook, says Vesper. Right, Vesper, do you have any advice you want to give to these people?
Read carefully. Because that handbook's one of the most important things for our server.
There we go. Let's do some Quentin Tarantino shots there. Actually, Quentin Tarantino would have the camera panning here, but it's there we go. You look like you're sleeping if you look that low. The leggies chats. 10 out of 10. Anyway. I would crush some spam musubi right now. It's just nice old spam sweet soy sauce wrapped in some vinegared rice. Nori sheets. Fantastic. Wait, pan back. No, no, okay, okay. Really? Does it look better? Let's see. Fly speed, low. The slow pan. There we go. Zzz. And show's over. We go back. Perfect. Connoisseur angles. It seems like you have a lot of fans, Vesper.
I'm here half the time.
That's true.
Fridays, nah. 'Cause I work on weekends.
Unfortunate,
But
right?
most of the time.
Yeah, she's here either like 2 out of 3 of my stream days. Don't worry. That's just work on
Yeah.
weekends, so unfortunate.
Yeah, and given that Wednesday's my grandpa's birthday, I might not be here for next stream.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, don't worry about it. What is this day 30 of? This is day 30 of me raising money for a Christmas miracle. Money that we're trying to give to this quote unquote charitable Blue Arrow Foundation, right? Trying to raise human resources for the impoverished, aka a motorcycle for a guy with no bike for the past few months, and he's starting to get cabin fever, which is me. It's my own little fundraiser. You see, I don't do the sabatons and whatnot, so I would rather be transparent about what the goal is, what the goal progress is as well. Right? Sounds like Umbrella Corp, yes. All those impoverished Gebusas out there in Gebgeria, you know, they're so thin, the village is doing so bad. So if you have a heart, if you have excess coin weighing your pocket, you just type exclamation point tip and it somehow magically goes to this bar which you'll fill up slowly. Yes. What bike are you gonna get? The Honda Africa Twin Adventure Sports DCT Edition. I've sat on that baby last 2019 or 20. That was before I was homeless. I was in the show. And oh wow, yeah, you're right. Yeah, and I said one day I'm gonna work hard and bring this home. A Honda. I would rather have reliability above everything else. Those bikes are indestructible. Wait, I just realized you have rice in the tanks. Correct. Asian here, Samus. Motorcycles. My love, my passion. Now I've crashed a grand total of 6 or 7 I've lost count. Yeah, probably 6 minimum. And now I've walked away from it thanks to protective gear. The only thing damaged really was my wallet. And, well, a dose of embarrassment once I had to talk to the cops about. I was like, yeah, I kind of had an accident. And please don't put a demerit on my license.
Your Honor, I played Oopsie Daisies.
Yeah, no. I plead oopsie daisies, yes. I plead oopsie daisies. Were there serious crashes? If I didn't have gear, probably yeah. But I mean, I've been folded like a paperclip after hitting a signpost in the middle of an island. I got flung underneath a van and had to crawl out. I flew into the dirt far too many times. I ate some silt because I flew and the powder dove into how the heck do I say it in English? The lahar. It's the aftermath of a volcanic lava flow, and then it's just the super fine materials remaining. So I drove there off road. Meat crayon for people who ride with that. Right? They tend to make wonderful streaks of art on the pavement.
Yeah. I mean, I already know from listening to my grandpa tales that you really should not go riding without motorcycle gear. He had a friend who fell off his bike mid-ride. They had to take like a metal scrub brush, at least from what he told me, to scrub the asphalt out of his skin.
You know what's harder than
Not
scrubbing
pretty, not
asphalt
fun.
off the skin? It's scrubbing your skin off the exhaust pipe that got melded together because you were dumb and didn't wear long pants or boots. And then it was hot, it sizzles for a moment, you pull it away, it looks like glue being peeled off, and you now have a Yamaha imprint on your thigh. Huh. Yes. Yeb is made out of rubber. I look like rubber. I sort of do, don't I? No, I don't. I'm not made of rubber, according to Vesper.
Listen, people might call you a dinosaur, but that doesn't mean that.
Oh, right, Rob. Fossil fuels.
He's a lizard, chat.
Why would you mention the meat crate? Because it happens. I hope you're doing well, don't have any serious hurts. The biggest injury I got, as I mentioned before, was in my wallet. I'll never get on a bike, says Cinder, an EMT. But thank you for keeping my profession employed. You're welcome. See ya, Blue. Howler. Me too. But me too. Me too, but the crypto wallet. Ah, yeah. Scam! I don't know. Bikes just. I'm not a speed demon like other riders. No, you commonly find me riding at 100 tops, 120, unless it's like boring and you go faster, and it's a cruise. But you would find me more often off road instead. So the crashes, the spills, they're all very much survivable. It just happens much more often. Stupid shiny rock jutting out, throwing me off balance. I fell into the muddy puddle. I wiped and my face is now making friends with the tree bark. Oh my god. Funny because when you were the only time you are going to have laughter as the reaction when you're with fellow bikers. If you're all riding off-road and you see your buddy trying to climb that hill, and then he like, you all laugh and then help him and then laugh some more. But if it's a squids, like the guys in sports bikes and the highways doing like illegal speeds, yeah, those are the ones deserving to be meat crayons. How do I become a suave lizard? 1. Be a lizard. 2. Have an objective. Like, be after money and say you need it without saying you need it. You're naturally gonna find your own play of words towards directing people towards what you're trying to get. Make up a lot of. I'm not gonna say it, but make up a lot of BS.
It's the humor that counts.
It's the humor that counts, yes. Most of all, have good taste in things, chat. Sad thing I gotta go. See you around, Benz. Also, I'm proud I'm showcasing this. Why? Because I recently worked on Vespers Abbey, and as you can see, it has been subdivided really well, and she actually has 3D beans instead of just textures, which is on the default Hyanid and claws. Now going back and putting the focus back to her face. There we go. So yes. A game of show and tell. Most excellent in a platform like VR chat. Now, where were we? Wes, Bladen, and Furry Fatala trying their best to guess the password. Not nowhere even close. How is the 10 Commandments the password?
You're not even a Christian, Fur. That's the funny thing.
What is that? I'm looking at the attempts at the password. It's so funny. The 10 Commandments. Okay. What else is here? Adult guidelines. Verify. No access. Front desk. The clue. Level 1. What the? Obey. I'm an artist and I'm 25. I don't care.
I need examples, number one, because that's not your art for your profile. That's for sure.
100%. Vesper.
That's that's a whole other YouTuber. Not you.
There's
I
a
reversed
reason.
Google searched your profile.
Look at Vesper execute somebody who's trying to pose as an artist and probably scam or inconvenience certain members in the Discord. What? Does he get executed by those?
Sorry. I can appeal it if you have proof later, but nuh-uh.
Anyway. There's a reason it was called Messages from a Likely Spammer. So, where were we? We're already 2 hours and 8 minutes into the stream. That's so quick. Oh man, Mamma Mia. Things ain't doing so well, chat. Oh, ho, ho. We have but 20. Come on, mathematics. We have but 21 minutes remaining. Aha. Let's see. I wonder who's gonna show up. Cinder Collie has expressed interest in showing up if I were to host a little gathering after stream. Fluffy is going to be there as well. A regular, clearly. Let's see who else. Maybe I make a little announcement on the server, but did I not? It is right there. I was vague about it, but Are you gonna show up too, Bombar? Imagine walking into the same room with Bombar and Cinder. Curious how that's gonna go. I could. It's my weekend. Right now. What do you know? Well, then it seems I'll be expecting two new faces later. Say hi and hello. Now, me being lazy, me being settled here means I'll probably just invite people to Cozy Calm. It's like a nice gathering spot, anywho. Unless we're gonna go to that funny world where we could skate. I don't know if I brought you there. It was a Christmas map as well. Had an igloo. No, you weren't there, were you? I streamed there last. I was in a bench and there was this kettle pot.
Yeah, I was away for finals.
Oh, you know that map? Yeah, that one. Maybe there. Let's see. This was a good day to
We'll
call up
see.
work. Says Batty, if the gathering is open perhaps, then by all means I expect to see you as well, Miss Alice. Wow. The roster of freshies are starting to increase. Doll? What doll?
The one thing, if Howler will do it, Axel will do it.
Oh, you're right. Of course, that sounds like a fantastic idea. Also, for pardon, Vesper's leg. She has yet to work on the recipe
Yeah,
for
that's-
Donga. We need to buy you the cable so you can put it on top. Anyway.
Yeah.
And then the doll thing too. Yes. Perfect. I am most curious about the horror magical things we will witness.
Cutting yourself off and still you're rolling your R. Motorcycle brain.
Alright, curiosity got the better of me. We're streaming in the VR chat category today. Alright, let's check it out. Gorga Cam with 400
Yes, look at you
views.
being a bad influence. I'm checking it out too.
Hey, we made it to third row. What do you know? Surrounded by bodacious babes, e-girls, and everything in between that has fist bones swaying on your screen. Oh wow, that's holy crap. I like how the title is 1440p streaming. Must be the new spelling. Streaming. Wow. Whoa. Is that the OS? Mhm. Vesper, you said you were listening along to the music I was listening to.
Oh, yeah, for some reason it wouldn't let me, so I found my own playlist on Spotify.
It won't let you? What do you mean?
Christmas jazz.
I'm curious
For
about
some reason it just wouldn't let me.
Really? How so?
I mean, I tried and click on your whatever you're listening to, and I can't listen in at the same time.
Let's see, manage privacy. Display on your profile, maybe? Does that work?
There we go. It actually finally worked.
It works now?
I
Nice.
didn't have, yeah, I didn't have Spotify sharing enabled on Discord, so it wouldn't let me until it actually updated.
Congratulations on getting it to work. Dede as far as the eye can see. Why do you know this word, Bambar? Yeah, Dede. Yeah. Because Dede is a term
You
commonly
listened
used
in.
by like young like kids and what do kids do when young. Milk. The people I bought a tent from called me. I almost had it, so a 60-year-old was removing the pallet of stuff instead of having them remove it from the truck. And how is that going now, Beth? For your super duper, clearly not overpriced tent. I learned it from some Twitch streamer. I wish that tracking on the Quest Pro was better, like eyebrow up. Man, we have but 13 minutes remaining and stream's gonna be over. For $60 more, they're going to remove it from the freight truck for them. My goodness, they're gonna rob you blind, bleed you dry at this point. Beth, you know, before more expenditures happen, I think what you need to do is deposit, right? This place, it's a safe place. It can't be touched by anybody else except me. And then, yes, you will get your 10% more success. Incredible rate of return. Yeah, I clearly didn't state that I would give it back. Shh, 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 you're blowing my cover. No, but in all seriousness, I hope you get the 10 and have to skip through so much hurdles. Let's play with the lights. Ooh. I just deposited 5K. I thought it was 2, man. What? Why did it balloon to 2.5 times the price? $5K? Don't tell me it was 2K just for one piece out of the set. Wow. I can see it being that pricey though, for such an elaborate system. No, it's not elaborate. It's a well-made system. 3K for the tent, 1K for the awning, 1K for the walls, and oh, I thought it was 2K for the whole thing. 2K would have been cheap, based on the pictures you've shown me. I understand now. Gosh. Price. The price of camping. Sleeping on top of your vehicle. That's the guy who has a budget of $40 for a tent on his bike. And again, would I want a tent or just go to the front desk of wherever I've set up camp to and pay $20 or less, maybe just $10 for a whole night of mosquito-free, bathroom-accessible, electrically powered safety? I mean, it has a mattress. That mattress better be good. How's the light look from here? Oh, nice.
There's a part of me that's always true. what you promised with your eyes. I see in yours too. Now your eyes are red from crying. Almost you.
What? Oh. Vesper's getting distracted by the coin stimming I'm doing. Yes. What the heck's in there?
I mean, it's a good way to get people's attention.
Very much true. Get people's attention. Emergency button go. There we go. Now we let that bake for a good 15 seconds and that's gonna update my thumbnail on Twitch.
Oh my god.
There we go, there we go. Okay. Hey, that looks like my thing. Cinder Coal's emote is this. Distracted by a shiny object. Clearly. Put the lighting back to how it was. It's intense like this. Nah. see, chat reacts, yes. The rare Geppo. Did you know during the earlier days of my stream, I used to have this thing in my channel Punch Redeem called the Bean Cam. People were so amused about like this thing, and then it would just pan to that, right? And then I would start doing voiceovers, pretending that the beans were talking, until it started to look really embarrassing when I was watching it, and I said, yeah, I'm not doing that again. Back in my days, yeah. Oh my goodness. A hydrate, a viewer that cares. Thank you, Silas. Also, you guys gotta prepare. Stream's gonna end in less than 10 minutes, and I'm going to immediately open a group instance, and you gotta make sure you're in the VR chat group before you can join. Just so I can filter people better. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm gonna AFK immediately after stream and eat something.
We'll be there in like 20 minutes. No, of course. Take your time. You know what? I might actually heat up a sandwich. That sounds like a brilliant idea, Vesper. And yes.
I'll be heating up some leftover soup from last night.
Yep. I'll be eating something after stream and what the gathering commands. Bombardactyl has requested to join the Gebo Shadow Guild. Approved. That's one. My work internet is bad. It's okay, man. I understand. You go focus on your task that needs to be finished first, and we can always just hang out and chat some other time. When you're free and whatnot. Also, oh no, I shouldn't say it on stream, but you know what I was gonna say. Blow out the candles. Gabby is going to give Vesper a insert word here. A sandwich. That was Nord. What does it look like with a span? Zzz. Oh, this works. Ta-da. Yeah. You know, I am tempted to go end early, but let's stick to schedule. Which chat peeping through the window? Yeah, I used to do that chat before. Just do this. You. So we're expecting. Am I floating on the couch again? Same brain cell. Ah, yes, Dactyl and Salis seems to be on the same page. Well, with all the peeping going on, might as well go. Skedaddly do. I might stream here again. This is actually pretty cozy. I'm gonna make this a 2-part stream. The next stream is gonna be here again, so we can keep the aesthetic. What do you think, Vance? Pretty.
Think so too. It'd be nice.
Yeah. Plus,
Maybe in a different spot in the house, but this one's probably one of the favorites.
yes, most definitely. So, 2 minutes, huh? Alright, come on. Any closing messages before I go? No, I'm not going to do an extended 5-hour stream like last time.
Gab was dead.
Yes. 24-hour stream. Yes, I shall burn myself out for the joy of chat. Hello, Wask. Oh, not much, really. Thanks for the stream. Take a see you, Waffle. Hold on. I am still looking at the verify channel. The part where people try to enter the password and get into the server.
And of course the obligatory someone gave up.
Yep, there goes Bladen. Wesley still persisting. Good luck, buddy.
It's really not that hard. You just have to pay
Yes.
attention to the right details.
100%.
And most importantly, read the rules.
Read the rules. What's the longest it took somebody to crack the code? Live?
week.
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks, I think. Live, 3 hours.
3.
Longest
Oh,
ever.
yeah,
2 weeks. I booted them
2
once
weeks.
for 1 week, and then they rejoined and verified on the very last day.
Finally got. If you read the rules and don't get it, it means you have not understood the handbook. That's the thing. Funny, the hundreds of people that are in all cracked the password. I like it when servers are like that. It involves a bit of thinking before you can freely join, especially if it's a community-centric one. It means the people that were able to get into the server actually has work in brain cells. A literacy test.
One of that. Yeah, that too. The whole point is that we're literally all adults here. You have to think logically.
Yes.
You have
If
to
you-
follow the rules because you get yourself
Mhm.
in trouble. That's no good for you.
Precisely. Reading is a skill. It's so easy.
It's not a riddle.
It's so yeah, it's not a riddle. It's right there. Gosh. Ba-da-da. Ain't it nice being able to have ankle tracking again? For the longest time, Vesper's ankle ankle trackers broke because of extensions and slimes aren't exactly the best. Yeah, they tend to not last long. You know what, Vesper? In a couple of minutes, less than an hour, people are gonna be joining this world. I think we better cap it off.
Yep.
So, how about we
All
start
right.
saying our goodbyes? Come on, Vesper, you go first.
All right. Bye, chat. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and be sure to sleep plenty. See those of you who are attending later.
There you go, Vesper. I mean, that's Vesper. Moderator, guardian, and co-host extraordinaire. Yes. That also means I gotta go. Thanks for joining me in today's stream. What is it today? Wednesday? Or is it Monday? Oh, it's a Monday stream. No wonder people rousing from the weekend. Understandable. So, yeah. Mick Wolf says, stay safe, everyone. You have a good day. And that's you, Mick Wolf. Cameron goes, Aldo hugs you too and give Yami a snuggle. I most definitely, I do every evening. He sleeps by my arm under the blanket. Thanks for the stream, says Salas. I'll see you soon, hopefully. Remember, you gotta join the group, okay? If not, DM me on Discord if you're having troubles. Cinder. What do you mean? Thank you for joining. I just got here. Sorry. I'll make sure to serve you extra bulbul when you get here. You visit your meal. Just a bit of sprinkles. I still have some shaved. Some saved. So yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I'll see you the day after tomorrow, chat. Bye. Bye.